All right, guys, so now it's time to actually create something in our AWS account. So I'm sure that you remember earlier, we set some environmental variables, right? Whenever we went and set up our account, we created the access key, secret access key, and then used those to set some environmental variables. That's what we're actually going to be using when we're running our Terraform plan. It's going to use those to reach out to AWS. So I just wanted to preface that before we go through anything else, just so you know why we're not actually setting any access keys or variables or anything under our provider. All right, so next is resources. So how do you create a resource? Well, first we have our resource block. And our resource block is going to have a provider, which in this case is going to be AWS, and then the type of resource, and then we name that resource. So in our situation, we're going to do AWS, and what we're going to create is an EC2 instance, and we're just going to do instance. And if you're ever unsure of what your resource type should be, you can always reference Terraform's documentation. There's a lot of great documentation there. You can definitely figure out what you need. So next is going to be the name. Whoops, I'm just going to do example. Okay. And then under that is our actual configuration. So these are going to be all of our arguments. So for this one, I'm just going to do AMI equals, and then some quotes. And then what else do I need? Instance type. And then equals, and then some quotes. And we'll just do a T2 micro. And that should be free tier for you guys if you just signed up for an account. And then for the AMI, we're actually going to need to go over to the AWS console to get the AMI that we need. So let me head over there really quick. All right, so we're in the AWS console. And what I usually do is just go over to launch instance here, pretend like I'm launching an instance, and then I'll search for whatever instance I want, right? So for this one, we're just going to use one of the Amazon Linux instances here. So this AMI, I'm just going to go ahead and copy, and then I'll head back over to my code. So now in my code here, I'm just going to paste this AMI right here, and we should be good to go. So let's go ahead and save this. And I am not in the right directory, so let me change to the correct directory here. I'm going to go to EC2 Lab 2. And if you need any help with your configuration file, you can go there and find this configuration there. So changing directory. Okay, we're good to go. And then I'm going to do a Terraform init. All right, it's creating our files over here. And let's clear this, and I'm going to do a Terraform validate. Make sure our configuration is valid. Excellent. And then let's do a Terraform plan and see what it wants to do. And we should see it creating an instance called example with this AMI, and it should be a T2 micro. Okay, excellent. So you can see at the bottom here, the plan always tells you how many to add, change, and destroy. Really good information. And then let's go up. Okay, we have an AWS instance, and the name is example. So it's going to say AWS instance is the type of resource dot its name, which is example. And you can see resource AWS instance and example. And then you can see the AMI that we specified. And if we scroll down a little bit, we'll see the instance type that we specified as well. And there's lots of different arguments you can use for your resources here. But that's all that we're going to use for now. So that's good to go. So what if we want to create this resource in our account? Well, let's go ahead and do a Terraform apply. All right, and so this is actually going to run our Terraform code. Oh, we'll have to put a yes to approve. Adding 1, that's what we're expecting. And it's going to take just a minute to create our instance here. But once this finishes, I'll switch back over to the AWS account and you'll be able to see that it actually created that resource. So let's give it just a minute here. Still creating. It's probably going to take 30 or 40 seconds. And after this lab, I'm going to have you guys actually try to do the same thing, but just shoot for maybe a different AMI, like a Windows AMI or something, just to change it up a little bit so you can practice actually writing out your configurations. Okay, and we are done. Apply is complete. We added a resource and we did not change or destroy anything. So let's hop over to the AWS console here. All right, and let me go to services EC2. We do have an instance. And here it is. This is the instance that we created. It is a T2 micro. It is still initializing. Yeah, and these are all of the settings for it. And if you look at AMI, which things have changed a little bit, so I don't know where AMI actually moved to. AMI, oh, here it is, AMI ID C99. That for me, right, is what I put in my code. But for you, it's probably going to be, different from what I had, but it should be the same in your code, right? And then in the console for you here. So I'm not going to get inside of this server right now. We just wanted to kind of go through and practice creating it. So now that it's done, let's go switch back to our code here. And so we're actually done with this little lab, right? So we don't need to keep that server around. So how do we get rid of it? Well, there's a couple things we could do. We could remove it from our configuration here. So we could just remove this, save it, and then run another plan and it would destroy it. But we're actually just going to run a Terraform destroy. And what that does is it's going to destroy everything that is in our configuration here. So let's run a destroy. It's going to ask us to actually confirm. All right, so it shows us everything that's going to be destroyed. And it's destroying one. I'm good with destroying it, so I'm going to hit enter yes. And it'll sit here and show you that it's applying the destroy until it actually finishes up with it completely. This one might actually take a little bit longer because it's still initializing the instance, but let's give it a minute here and see. In the meantime, you can see over here on the left side, we have the Terraform TF state lock info, and we have the Terraform TF state. This is our state file here, and this is just a lock for the state. All right, it looks like it actually destroyed our resource. So let's hop over really quick one more time back to the EC2 console. And let's refresh. And you can see here, it is terminated. And this is the same instance with that same C99 AMI. So really, really cool. We just created our first configuration, right, with our provider block, created our first instance, and then went in and terminated it. So just be careful using that Terraform destroy command though, because unless you want to destroy everything that is in your environment, you might want to avoid it, but it is excellent for labs. So that is it for this one, guys, and I'll see you in the next lecture.